I'm going on my second year with the Tundra, and 30,000 miles later, this truck is yet to let me down. It's taken its fair share of trail beatings and dings and dents, but mechanically, it's bulletproof. After blowing my steering rack, which is common for this generation Tundra, it gave me the opportunity to rebuild the whole front end and give me more peace of mind when I'm 500 miles from home, deep in the wilderness. The extra storage space and horsepower of the 5.7 motor are factors that have made me really appreciate this rig over all the ones that came before it. It might be large, but there hasn't been a single trail yet that the Tundra hasn't been able to conquer. I've had 5 Overland rigs before the Tundra came around, so here's a brief history on all of its predecessors. In 2014, I was only 17 when I bought this 2004 pre-runner and started building it. Before long, I realized four-wheel drive was no longer a want but a need, so I traded it in for the rig that started my real desire to explore. My 2010 TRD Off-Road, which I built from the ground up and took this truck up obstacles and down trails I never thought it could ever handle. But as 2019 approached, I broke my back and took a hiatus from camp rigs and purchased a hauler for work. Before long, the Cummins had suspension, a bed rack, and a tent, and I was back at it. I soon realized the hauler was just a hauler, and quickly got myself back into a rig that haunts me to this day. This was my 96 Tacoma 5-speed manual with manual locking hubs and rear locker, and it was the coolest truck I ever owned. At 135,000 miles and as clean as it gets, I should have never sold this truck. But inevitably I did, and to my confusion to this day, I'm not sure why I switched it over for this 2015 Tacoma. If it wasn't for this second gen Tacoma, I'd have never traded it in for the Tundra that I'm in now.
So it's been quite a while since I produced a build walk around. It's been nearly almost a year. I've done quite a bit to this truck since the last video, and I have quite a few new subscribers to the channel who might not know exactly what I put into this and how much I've spent on this. So if you saw the thumbnail, you're probably wondering why I said this is a budget rig, when it certainly is nowhere near looking like a budget rig. But the term budget is a bit subjective to your situation. I didn't slap all this stuff on overnight. I saved my money. I don't make a lot of money, but I enjoy modifying my truck. And if you're thinking this is absolutely not a budget build, I beg to differ, and I'll tell you why. If you don't know this already, Facebook Marketplace has definitely taken over the spot of where Craigslist was 10 years ago. Almost every part that I've slapped on this truck has been found on Facebook Marketplace at a really good deal, all secondhand, other than a select few parts. I'm first going to take you through the exterior of the truck. I'm going to show you my suspension, armor, tell you where all that came from, how much I paid. And then I'm going to dive into the camping portion of my setup and show you exactly step for step what I do when I get to the camp spot. All right, so starting in the front end, I have this big Chassis Unlimited plate bumper. I picked it up for 250 bucks a couple years ago from some guy out of town. He was replacing his bumper with something a bit more aesthetic because, let's face it, this thing's pretty ugly, but it does the job and it gives me clearance, and my approach angles are much better than a factory bumper, so I can't complain. Underneath, I have an RCI skid plate, which was 350 bucks. I bought it brand new. I didn't want to, but I needed a better skid than the factory because I was bashing the hell out of that thing. The other really nice thing about that skid plate is if you know anything about Tundra engineering and Toyota engineering, they like to put their oil filters in really dumb spots. The skid plate has a really nice hatch. I can take two 12mm hex nuts, pull it off, pull the hatch down, reach up in and grab my oil filter. It's really nice. So as far as lighting, I am running some Harbor Freight specials. They costed me less than 100 bucks for this light bar and those pods. They do the trick. I'm going to be totally honest. The expensive lighting, some Baja designs, it sounds appealing, but I don't want to pay $1,000 for 2 pods that I'm going to run maybe 2 or 3 times a month, maybe at most. And the only time I would be having any exterior lighting on is out doing nighttime trail runs, or I'm out getting into a spot late. So I just don't see the point in spending a ton of money on lighting. It does look good. If Baja Design wants to send me some to promote, I'd gladly take them. I'm also running a Badlands Jack by Harbor Freight. As you can see, it's Badland. It's the 12,000 pound. I've used it 3 times now. It's came in clutch every single time. I got it on sale, one of their Christmas sales, with a gift card for $220. So it's an absolute bargain. You can pay for your $1,000 Warren winches or whatever, but this synthetic line winch has really done good for me. And we'll talk about my headlights, which I am less than enthused with. These are Alpha Rex headlights, specifically for the Tundra. They look pretty good. They have some nice aesthetic. I like the LED strip around them. I think aesthetically it looks really nice. I like the projector bulbs, but these headlights, for the price, they're only 400 bucks, I think. They just don't work very well. They're not very bright. I changed my bulbs and they're still just kind of letting me down. The brights don't work. I'm not sure why. I never took it up with the company. I guess, you know, it's my fault. I should have consulted them and told them that my brights aren't working, but that's why I have cheap Harbor Freight light bars. And as far as suspension up front, I am running ADS 2.5s. I bought them for $1,100 a couple years ago. I had them rebuilt locally because ADS is a local company, which is a huge pro. And I'm running Camberg upper control arms. They're the Uniballs. They've been pretty noisy. I just hit them with some dry lube and they're completely quiet again. Suspension wise, I've had it all on all my Tacomas. I've had Icon, Fox, and King. The worst of those being Fox. Icon came in second place, and King, in my opinion, is just overpriced. All of them have really low rebuild schedules. ADS has a 60,000 mile rebuild schedule, and the rebuilds are really affordable. So I went with ADS just because it is local, and so far these coilovers have been the best I've had on any vehicle. For wheels, I'm just running the TRD Pros that came with this. The Rock Warrior package comes with these nice alloy wheels, so I kept them. They look good. Now let's talk about tires. This is something that I kind of get worked up on because I see people go out and they'll finance tires. They'll go out to Discount Tire. They'll spend 2,500 bucks on a set of 35s. They'll run them for 35, 40,000 miles. And sure, they last. Sure, you get certificates over at Discount, but a lot of those manufacturer warranties suck. If you're not within 230 seconds of the inner tread to the sidewall tread, they won't honor your warranties. So I think that's kind of BS. These are Grit King RTs, 35, 12.5, 17s. I get them from a local tire shop. They're just knockoff Taiwanese tires. They're the Ridge Climbers. I didn't even realize that they were called the Ridge Climbers until right now. I paid like 960 bucks for these cash out the door. I put 10,000 miles on them so far. They've held up great. They're really quiet on the road. I don't know how they do in snow, but we'll find out this winter time. My last knockoff MTs were fantastic. I got 37,000 miles out of them. Paid $860 for those, so you really can't beat it. And now the rain is coming down, so fingers crossed it doesn't pour. Now for my sliders. Where did I get these? Well, I actually built these. I paid 280 bucks for material. It's 3/4 inch Dom. I have 5 outriggers from this inner tube going to my chassis. I didn't weld it to my chassis. I'm not the most structural welder, so I had my buddy Bailey do that because he's a great welder. But for these trucks to get sliders on discount, best price I found was like $900. So I was, you know, why am I going to spend that when I have a machine that I can burn these on? So I figured I'd do it myself. Now for the rear suspension, I don't know if you can see, but these dirty ADS are triple bypasses. I picked them up for $900 from the same guy I got my fronts from. Took them in, rebuilt for 200 bucks. I'm into them 1,100. These are like $2,600 shocks. I saved a ton of money. The same guy sold me Icon hydro bumps for $200. I don't know how much use has been on them, but I'm really liking those. I can really get a little Cindy out there and kind of launch the rear end of this truck, and it feels like a cloud. And the leaf pack is Icon RXT. It's their thick pack. I paid 450 bucks for my friend Matt, who was taking them off his truck. He didn't need them anymore, and I figured I kind of need some more reinforcement in the rear with all this new gear I'm hauling around, so I bought those. It was a pretty good deal. Now let's migrate to the rear end. What do I have going on back back here. We'll start with the bumper. Technically, I didn't build the bumper. My friend Bailey once again built the bumper because he is a great welder, but I learned a lot from that experience, and I can do some burning, but not quite the same burning he can do. I had the swing out gate, which I will go through in a little bit, given to me, so I saved, you know, a few $100s there on materials. And materials for the bumper itself were less than $200 because I had some old steel laying around, and that's about as cheap as it gets because this same bumper design is taken from a Trail Toys fabricator. I just mocked up something similar because I really liked the design, the high clearance factor, it looked great. That bumper itself is like $1,900 and I was not going to spend that, so I built it for roughly paying Bailey around $500-600, so not bad at all. I've got my full-size spare, again it's just a knockoff, and I have my Trasharoo, which this is just a Amazon special. It's Himall brand or something, but I think it's full of trash right now, so I'm not gonna pull it out. But I keep a 5-gallon bucket back here, so I throw my trash into the 5-gallon bucket, and if there's anything gross or wet, it's not gonna leak out onto the fabric, so I leave the bucket in there so it doesn't get gross. Now, what fancy mods do I have going on inside this cab? Well, truth be told, I have nothing fancy in here. I don't even have a phone holder for navigation. I don't have big iPads. I use this $50 Bofang ham radio on low frequency channels, of course. It's lasted me for about 5 years. It's on its way out. $50. I don't have some ridiculously overpriced GMRS or CB radio that works half the time. This thing always works, so I'm loving this. And as far as navigation, nothing really beats just holding that thing in your hand and looking as you go, because if I put it up here, I'm gonna not pay attention to it, but if it's in my hand, I'll look at the map, and I'm not spending $50-60 on some goofy mount. So that to me is kind of unnecessary. What do I use for navigation? Well, I don't know if you can see that, but I solely use Onyx. I tried Gaia for a while. The accessibility and user friendliness of Onyx is much better than Gaia in my opinion, so I just preferred it. Some people prefer Gaia, but Onyx for me works a lot better. In this seat, I keep all my camera gear. Obviously, that's not when I have the wife with me. When I have the wife with me, this stuff goes on top of the fridge in the back. So what exactly is the first thing I do when I roll into camp? Well, I come back here and my fridge and battery are both right here. Now, when I'm driving, I leave this fridge plugged into my DC outlet in the actual truck. I didn't go to the extent of getting an isolator for this battery and plugging it into my alternator. I just pull it in and out, and on long trips, I have a 12 amp inverter that I plug a charger into. While we drive, I charge my accessory battery for the fridge and the other stuff that powers my lighting and whatnot. So this is what I use. It's 2 alligator clamps. They clamp into the battery. It has a 12-volt female, which plugs into the fridge. I hook that to my battery right when I get to camp so I don't drain my house battery in my truck. And of course, I am running a deep cycle battery. I just got hit right in the face by a drop. It's gonna start coming down any minute, so I might have to take a brief intermission before I show you the flip pack. So over on this side, you can see I have my seats out. This is just a platform I built out of plywood, really cheap, like less than 30 bucks. Mila's in here now. She's on her bed, which I throw in. I'll sometimes put it in the flip pack. I threw my compressor in here. This is just an Amazon all-top brand. These things work really good. I use it every day for my work vehicles. Over a year, this thing has not gone out. I had another one, same brand. Ooh, it's close lightning. Same brand. I pulled it off my front bumper on accident, dropped it on the ground, sucked a bunch of dirt up into the cylinder, so I had to toss that one. I used it for parts, but this thing's been great. No real reason to buy a big dual compressor when these are 150 bucks. They'll fill all 435s in no time, so I really like it. Down here, I keep an extension cord, which I have it plugged into an inverter. I pull it out like this. The flip pack has a nice 110 right here. And with this 110 plugged in to the inverter, to my accessory battery, I have all my lighting powered. Sure, it looks a little goofy, but it's functional. So I also keep my tool, my crank for the flip pack, goes in up top, cranks it over. I'll show you how that works. And then I also keep a bag of clothes, my jacket, some extra shoes, other stuff I can slide in there. I didn't build drawer slides just because I'm kind of stupid when it comes to that stuff. So this functions fine. I'm not an organized person, as you'll see when we get to the deck box. This functions, so we'll send it. Well, the rain slid just past us, but with these monsoons, you get a ton of pressure and a ton of wind coming off them. So I have kind of a crappy road mic. You'll have to bear with me. We got rid of the rain, but we're not gonna get rid of this wind. So like I said, bear with me. So next thing, after I get the fridge situated, the dog situated, I come back here, I open this gate up, and I'm gonna get the bed situated. Now the flip pack. Now I'm sure if you've watched any of my videos, sorry, there's a ton of thunder right now. If you watched any of my videos, you'll know that this flip pack showed up like around 6 months ago. And I didn't talk about it a whole lot. But this thing has completely changed the game for myself and my wife. I mostly got it for my wife. I was happy sleeping in the rooftop tent. It wasn't a big deal, but this changes the whole game, like I said. This thing is amazing. I picked it up for 4,500 bucks. This is somewhat of what you would call an antique canopy camper. There's a lot of new canopy campers, GFC, Overland campers, stuff like that, AT Overland. All that stuff is anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. It is aluminum. The metal body is a huge plus. This is just fiberglass, but they stopped producing these in 2015, and I kind of wish that they would come back, Flippac could come back and redesign this thing, because this thing is amazing, and they could really tap into like a budget canopy camper market if they tried. So now you might ask, what gear do I pack? I don't pack a lot because I'm a simple man, as you probably know by now. I bring water. I have this 7-gallon water jug. This thing's great. I have my $8 Walmart special camp chair. I hate to say it, but if you buy something over like $15 or $20 to sit in while you camp, I broke my spine a couple years ago and I can still tolerate this camp chair. So you don't have an excuse to say your back is bad. You just want the clout sitting in a nice comfy chair. I also bring my Stihl chainsaw. Right now there's fire restrictions, so not really doing much for fires, but you never know. I leave this thing wrapped up in a plastic bag so it doesn't leak. Eventually I'll mount it to my bumper. You'll have to excuse my window coverings. This is kind of cheap stuff that's Velcroed on, and because it's so hot right now, the Velcro doesn't want to stick. So I have all of my sleeping bag, my comforter is in this box. I just throw it in there. God, that's another thing. Let's get into that. Roam boxes. I get it. They're rigid. You can throw them on your roof rack. You can beat the hell out of them. But for $400, let's get serious. That is absolutely insane. I think they're pretty silly, and my friend Brian has one, and after about a year, the top of it's warped. Not worth the money. I wouldn't buy one. And of course, over here, as always, my favorite when camping is I bring my guitar. I have to bring my guitar. It's just something I like to do, especially out solo. I gotta play. It just completes the camp trips for me. And this is probably the most important piece to the puzzle. I always figured that, you know, I don't need a camp toilet. Nothing beats spreading your cheeks over a log out with a beautiful view. But that's if you can find a log or rock to spread them over. This thing, and granted I only bought this because I have a wife and she doesn't like to squat when she poops and pees. This was $30 on Amazon, and it has changed the game. If I want to grab a nice cup of coffee and walk up the side of a mountain and plant my booty somewhere with a gorgeous view, I can do it anywhere with this. And this is, sure, it's luxury, but I will take it. Now, if only this rain would stop, because My flip pack is not waterproof. The interior canvas is not waterproof. I have a rain fly for it, but I'm not putting it on right now. It's not fun by yourself. Now, the deck box. This thing is single-handedly the biggest Facebook Marketplace score I made, and probably the best investment I made for this camping setup. I got this for 450 bucks. I told the guy, I'll give you an extra 50 bucks if you hold this for a day, because he had someone coming to look at it. These things go for around 1,400 brand new. It fit perfect. I had to trim some of the sides down. Oh, another thing I might add, I do have bed stiffeners. I don't know if you can see it on that side, this side too. They're just Amazon cheapos. They were 70 bucks. With the weight, 300 pounds of the flip pack, I figured it was pretty important that I stiffen the bed side, so I did that. But let's get into the deck box. So I have this Goal Zero Yeti. I bought it secondhand. I don't know how it was treated before, but it doesn't last very long. I only use it for my camera equipment, my phone, that sort of thing. I can maybe get 3 days out of it recharging all my camera stuff, which is pretty lousy. Again, Goal Zero, if you want to send me another one to test, I would love to put it up to the test and see how it does, because I think this thing would be great. I don't know how it was used or abused before I had it, but I'm thinking some other brands might do better. With that being said, it was used, so I might be running my mouth in the wrong department. But let's dive in here more. I keep headlamps back here, coffee mugs, paper towels, and then I have a cheap Coleman stove. I see absolutely no point in buying any sort of fancy cooking stuff when these Coleman stoves do great. They're like $30 or $40. And then behind the stove, I have some paper towels. I use paper and plastic silverware and forks and plates. Sure, I should be using reusable stuff. It's better for the environment, if you will, but I'm only camping 3 to 4 nights in a row, and that means, let's say 10 to 12 plates at most. I'm not doing any damage. Behind this, I have all my pots and pans, cutting boards, spices. This deck box does a really good job at keeping everything nice and dust proof, which is a huge bonus, especially with the camp kitchen stuff. A little bit of dust gets in there. All this stuff is dirty. I only really clean it when I get back into another camp, so this dirty stuff can sit up for 2 weeks, but it is what it is. And over on this side of the box, I keep all my tools. I keep a bag of sockets, I keep wrenches, I keep a torque wrench. I have extra brake lines, I have extra CV axle in here, I keep my shovel in here, impact, hammer. Anything that I think I could need out on the trail goes in this box. It's pretty heavy, but it does good on the sliders. They're built pretty well. This deck box is easily one of the most valuable mods that I did to this truck, just because I can store so much stuff in only about a foot's worth of space, so that's a huge bonus. So now let's flip the flip pack because the rain finally stopped. There's 2 latches on each side, and then you take this tool with this spider gear, put it in there like so, the gear in, and fire away. It's pretty easy. I mean, it's kind of a pain, but it's not super heavy. And that's it, camp set up. There's 2 poles in the front. I'm not gonna put those up, but those drop down and support the legs for the front of the tent. Up inside of here, there's one more step. There is this cover that holds the mattress and the bedding in. I fold this to the side, and now I have all this living space. Now up inside of here, you can see there's a ton of headspace. I'm 5'10", and I still have another foot. Up further, it's a little less clearance, but it's enough for me. It's really nice when we're all out camping and a big storm comes through. I have the rain fly on. Everyone else has to huddle up inside their rooftop tents, and I can sit here. I have a TV stand right here. I set my stove up on. I can cook dinner right here. All sorts of room for activities. The mattress is a Hikenture. It's It's like an X-Bed knockoff. I bought it on Amazon. X-Beds are like $300. This was 110 bucks. The mattress that was in here was atrocious. It was really hard on my back. This thing is wonderful. This is like some of the best sleeping I get is on this mattress. So great investment there. The actual structural integrity of this flipac's pretty good. The poles are kind of old. A lot of the brackets that go into the fiberglass are old plastic, so eventually it's going to rot out, but I can just replace that down the road. The actual tent fabric is still in pretty good shape. There's a couple nicks here and there. I could cover that up with some duct tape, but it's fine. Now, you might be wondering why I have these old TV stands in here, this one and this one. They came out of my old house. I didn't need them anymore, and I was looking at goose gear boxes for new canopy campers, like 900 bucks a side. That's just absurd. I'm not paying that. I can live with these ugly TV stands. I whacked the legs off them. I took some L brackets. I screwed them into the deck box. It works really good. Inside, I keep sheets. Let's see. I keep pillows. I have 3 pillows in here. I can stick blankets in there. It's really just more so for my sleeping stuff other than what I put in this Husky box. And again, they function. No reason to go expensive when you have stuff laying around your house that you can be using and throwing in and saving a lot of money. So don't worry about the expensive stuff. Just use what you got. My lighting in here is pretty basic as well. I just Velcroed this stand light on there. It runs down to my 110 somewhere over there. And I just click a button and I have adequate light. So good enough for me. Now, when it's dinner time, which it's getting close to dinner time now, I pull my table off. So the table comes down. And I come over to my camp kitchen here, pull my paper towels out, pull my Beat Coleman stove out, set her up, and now I have all of this cooking space along with tailgate space. It makes a perfect little L countertop, and it's pretty fantastic. Now, what the heck do I bring for food when I'm camping? Again, if you've watched enough of my videos, you know I'm a pretty lazy guy, at least when I'm camping. So I bring stuff that's easy to cook. Most of the time, it's really just meat. I really only eat meat. I don't eat vegetables. When I come out here camping, I'll take my cast iron out, season it a little bit, slap a nice ribeye on there. Really could eat a ribeye 7 days a week. I have done it. I did it for almost 8 months and there was nothing wrong with it. I felt great. Other than that, I bring some milk, I bring some turkey and cheese and some sandwich materials, and I'll eat a sandwich if I get bored. Maybe some chips here and there, but not a whole lot. I don't like to do a lot of fancy cooking. I know a lot of groups will have one designated cook, or someone will cook every night, and that sounds like a great idea, but again, I really only eat meat, so I just cook for myself. But essentially, that's pretty much the whole camp setup. It's pretty basic. Like I said, I just like to keep it simple, and I like to have fun, and I like to enjoy my time. I don't like to spend hours going through all the different gear that I should have brought, or I have all this gear that takes forever to set up. This setup is quick, it's easy, and it gets the job done. So that's pretty much gonna wrap up this build video. Not a whole lot to this setup. There's a whole lot less than it looks. But again, guys, just keep with the idea. Just use what you got. Just get out there and do it. Don't forget to keep an eye out on Facebook Marketplace for deals. There's a lot of good stuff locally you can find. The thing with this truck is not a lot of people have Tundras. Like I've said, I've had a lot of Tacomas. I've actually had 4 now. I'll post some pictures up of every build I've had. My wife has a 4Runner. I've had Tacomas. They're good trucks. They're just too small. This truck, I've had a lot of people ask, you know, full-size Overland rigs are not ideal. Are they ideal? Maybe, maybe not. They're ideal for me. If they're ideal for you, just send it. Yeah, you're gonna consume a lot of gas. Yeah, trails are gonna be a hell of a lot tighter, but in the end, if you can carry all your gear and get to a spot way out in a remote destination, and all the other Tacoma guys got there, you got there no problem, your rig's doing just fine. In the next month, I've got some really cool trips planned, some really big trips planned for the end of September, so stay tuned for those. And until then, I will catch you guys on the next one. If you enjoyed the build video. Give me some feedback. Tell me what might make this setup better. I love hearing recommendations. If you have any suggestions, shoot them in the comments. I'd appreciate it. And don't forget to give me a like and a subscribe. Share me that love. Help my channel grow. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. We'll catch you on the next one.